Hello, employees of America. I want to take a moment and broadcast an episode to make sure that you're aware of your rights as your employers begin to rehire you. Perhaps they already have, and just to ensure that there's no exploitation. And I need to point out a couple things just to make sure you're aware of those things. Please take a moment to click subscribe, click the bell and all, so that you receive updates on upcoming episodes. So let's talk about the Payroll Protection Program, also called the PPP program, which is a component of federal aid through the Small Business Administration, the SBA in America. Throughout the United States, employers have received anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, and ultimately millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars have gone out to employers specifically to encourage them and to incentivize them to rehire their employees, which is you. And so while there's so much talk about helping businesses, we need to make sure that we're also helping employees get back to work. I'm aware of a number of situations where employees have reached out to me because they feel their employer is essentially exploiting the terms of the PPP loan. Now, it is strictly regulated, and if the employer handles things in a certain way, they can qualify for complete loan forgiveness, meaning the hundreds of thousands of dollars they may have received, they will never, ever, ever have to pay back. That is extremely valuable to them. They must qualify. So there are strict requirements, and they're very focused on ensuring that they qualify. Now, there are many great employers that are doing their very best to help their employees and stay in business, and possibly even at a loss, and our hearts go out to them. There are also cases where employers may be overcome with mixed conflicts of interests and not be truly working in the interest of their employees, meaning you. If you find that that's the case, if you're brought back to work but given so few hours or shifts that you don't earn enough money to even really justify working, and that's cutting into your unemployment benefits or even your eligibility, and you're being asked to, for example, resign, or for example, if you're in a situation where perhaps you're pregnant and you were laid off and it's months later and now you're being expected to go back to work in the middle of a pandemic, and you're high risk based on pregnancy according to the WHO and the CDC and health organizations, and you find yourself in a situation where they're wanting you to resign because you essentially can't work based on how many months pregnant you are, or to go on some type of disability type program, for example. I want you to please review your state unemployment benefits. There are so many exemptions carved out in the unemployment insurance programs throughout the country. In various states it varies. For example, in a number of states, if you're on unemployment and become injured or disabled, many states have an exemption where instead of going on disability, you can stay on unemployment if you're on unemployment due to the pandemic. And the disability does not have to be pandemic related. You don't have to have the COVID-19 virus. It can be anything from a broken leg to pregnancy. Now, it does vary by state, but please, before you give up your unemployment benefits, before you sign a resignation letter that may mean that you're no longer going to receive unemployment benefits, review very carefully the guidelines, and especially the expanded guidelines on unemployment, to make sure you're not giving up something that once sacrificed you're never going to get back again. Now, if you find that your employer seems to be exploiting the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP program, and you're in a situation where it's affecting yourself and possibly others as well, or even if it's just you, there's a simple set of actions you can take to report that and have it independently investigated by the U.S. Small Business Administration. Simply, if you Google SBA PPP abuse, if you Google that, when you Google that, the first link that should come up is Report Fraud, Waste, and Abuse, Small Business Administration. You'll want to click on that link. Once you click on that link and scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a link that simply says Report Fraud, Waste, or Abuse online. You can fill that out anonymously or by name with contact information. That is up to you. Now, this is not something we want to see misused in a way that we're reporting all of the struggling employers that are doing their very best to stay in business and operating at a loss and just trying to get their employees back to work and doing things in good faith. Really, it's an avenue where if you feel that there is truly exploitation, where employees are being given so few shifts that they can't really afford to work, but just enough shifts so that their unemployment's jeopardized and the company's bringing in other employees and paying them less, for example, and in doing that, kind of manipulating the intent of the PPP program, loan forgiveness, which is to rehire their employees if they seem to be circumventing and undermining. It's definitely worth your effort to consider reporting that, have it investigated, because if the employer doesn't do things the right way, that several $100,000 loan they may have received, rather than being forgiven, they may have to repay that, and that is a very big loan, and believe me, they want it forgiven. So that's really it for today's episode. Hope you found it helpful. Take a moment, please, to click subscribe and like if you found this interesting. Wish you all the best. Take care.